On behalf of the Ohio Department of Higher Education and the Ohio Mathematics Initiative, let me welcome you to our presentation today. This presentation provides an overview of the Ohio Mathematics Steering Committee, their work, and the steps that have been taken to advance and create pathways in post-secondary mathematics in the state of Ohio. The charge of the steering committee was to develop expectations and processes that result in each campus offering pathways that result in mathematics that yield 1. Increased success for students in the study of mathematics, 2. A higher percentage of students completing degree programs, and 3. Effective transferability of credits for students moving from one institution to another. We're looking for ways to put students into math courses to get them excited and interested in the same things that interest us as mathematicians. We always have an eye towards helping students complete their degrees. That's part of the initiative in the state of Ohio with our completion agendas, is to help students achieve those goals, to complete those programs that they've begun. We're also making sure that as students move from one institution to another, that their credits transfer with them. On May 8th in 2013, the Ohio Department of Higher Education convened a math summit. Teams of somewhere between 2 and 4 people, sometimes 5 or 6 from some institutions, talked about issues in mathematics. Some of the discussion revolved around things that were preventing student success, things that the state was doing well, and we heard a presentation from Uri Treisman from the University of Texas at Austin, and he talked about national trends in mathematics. The outgrowth of that summit was that there's work to be done in the state of Ohio. We need to convene a steering committee to help look at what issues we have and to move the state of Ohio forward with pathways into secondary mathematics. So in late May through June of 2013, steering committee members were selected. Nominations were taken from Ohio's public colleges and universities. We decided on committee members, and on the 26th of July 2013, an initial steering committee meeting was held. Through August and December of 2013, the steering committee met monthly, and we worked in small groups and collaborations, trying to take a look at just what was happening with mathematics in the state of Ohio. We were looking at what innovations had already taken place, what challenges might be in the way, what data was available. We put together a working document. On January 10th and 11th of 2014, the chairs took a look at the document, this Rethinking Post-Secondary Mathematics report that the steering committee had put together. They looked at the recommendations that were called for and provided some feedback. The steering committee met in a retreat during those 2 days in January to take the suggestions that were made, work those into the documents, make sure that the data in the document was vetted and provided to other institutions, and that we received feedback from other policymakers about what was in the report. The result was the best set of recommendations that we could produce for the state of Ohio, and that culminated in March of 2014 with the release of the Rethinking Post-Secondary Mathematics, the final report of the Ohio Mathematics Steering Committee. One of the things called for in that report was the creation of a Chairs Leads network. And on June 2nd, 2014, the inaugural chairpersons meeting took place at Ohio State University. That meeting brought together chairs and leads so they could talk about the issues that they were having on campuses, the work that they're doing in terms of mathematics pathways and success in math courses. But there was work that more than just chairs could do, and the Chairs Network created 5 subgroups. And these subgroups were designed to go through and enact the recommendations that were made by the steering committee. And in summer of 2014, selection of the subgroup members began. These subgroup members were nominated by their peers, by mathematicians throughout the state of Ohio, so that work could begin. Also, as part of this timeline, on September 17th and 18th in 2014, the Complete College America Data Center grant meeting was held in Texas. Ohio was one of a handful of states that was chosen to receive grant support in terms of resources, information, data mining, sample presentations. This grant support is helping Ohio and other states consider different pathways, and prerequisite models. On the 25th of September in 2014, the subgroup co-leads had their first meeting. Everyone met each other. We took a look at the work that had already been done. Subgroup 2, the subgroup that focuses on the transferability of courses, had already been working over the summer of 2014, and they had some things to report out. In October and November of 2014, there were initial meetings of all the subgroups. And in terms of the big picture of the timeline, from July 2014 through June of 2016, the grant-supported work continues. That grant-supported work includes creating the pathways, enacting the state-supported decisions, building co- and prerequisite strategies, and the work around the alignment of K-12 and post-secondary education. If you're hearing about the steering committee for the first time, you might be interested to know that the steering committee is composed of 7 mathematicians from 4-year state institutions in Ohio, 5 mathematicians from 2-year state institutions in Ohio, 5 ex officio members, 2 consultants from the data center at the University of Texas at Austin, and the Ohio Department of Higher Education staff. The steering committee met regularly to talk about ideas, to ask questions, but the outgrowth of the steering committee's report were 5 essential components that needed to be addressed. The first essential component was that what we needed to do as a state was to develop high-quality entry-level courses and pathways for mathematics. The idea here is to improve student success by aligning the mathematics that a student is studying to their academic program. If a student is a communications major, might they be better served by a quantitative reasoning course or a statistics course as opposed to a college algebra course? We want to develop, implement, and evaluate co-requisite strategies to support underprepared students. As opposed to laying out 1 year or 2 years of prerequisite coursework before the student can get into the gateway course for their program, is there some way to shorten that path? To provide just-in-time strategies so the student can enroll in that college-level gateway course immediately, complete the course, and apply that information to their program of study. Essential component number 2, as identified by the steering committee, is to develop transfer policies and processes that foster effective transfer of course credits while encouraging course innovation. That was going to require redesign of the Ohio Transfer Module course criteria and processes. We're looking to increase flexibility in determining prerequisite courses and credit hours, and it necessitated a definition of college level. Subgroup 2 has worked on essential component number 2. And as of the fall of 2014, the early winter of 2015, has already gone through and provided a definition of a college-level mathematics course. Subgroup 2 aims to remove the artificial prerequisite setup of intermediate algebra as a prerequisite for anything to be entered into the transfer module. And in April of 2015, Subgroup 2 has started looking at courses that are submitted for the first time without that intermediate algebra prerequisite to determine whether or not they meet that definition of college-level mathematics. All of this is undertaken with the idea of creating courses that address the needs of students, that allow students to complete the math courses that they need for their programs of study, all while maintaining a level of rigor and expectation that is indeed college level. Of the 5 essential components, the third essential component focuses on constructive engagement of mathematics chairpersons and faculty within and across campuses. One of the first things that was called for was the establishment of a chairs or leads network. As we mentioned earlier, the Chairs and Leads Network had their first meeting in June of 2014 and has met regularly since June of 2014 to look at the work of the subgroup, to ask questions, to provide direction, and to exchange information and take information back to their campuses. Essential component number 3 also calls for the improvement of communication among mathematics faculty and stakeholders so that everyone is aware of the changes that are taking place and the innovations that are happening on campuses across Ohio. It facilitates a venue for asking questions about the changes yet to come as a result of the pathways. Essential component number 3 is also looking at ways of encouraging and promoting participation in professional groups. The idea here is that faculty members who are interested in learning a little bit more about what the Pathway Initiative is, what the project's about, what the steering committee is proposing, what the Chairs Network is discussing, well, those interested faculty members can learn about these initiatives by, say, going to an Ohio sectional meeting of the MAA or several other professional organizations across the state of Ohio. None of the work of the Ohio Math Initiative can be measured without having some data about what's actually taking place on the ground. Are changes truly affecting student success? And so essential component number 4 focuses on collecting, analyzing, and sharing of relevant data. Subgroup 4 has looked at new ways of collecting data across the state, and they've been finding ways of sharing that information with the other subgroups and taking it back to the campuses so that everybody in the state of Ohio has a picture of what's taking place in Ohio, and then we can track the changes as they get made. The 5th essential component is to improve student success in college-level mathematics courses by aligning post-secondary expectations and high school practice. A key to this is to strengthen the collaboration and communication that takes place between K-12 instructors and higher education instructors. And to be more specific, we want to share best practices and explore new approaches to the placement of entering post-secondary students and implementation of the remediation-free standards. It's not a surprise that we often hear that students have left their high school experience underprepared for the college-level mathematics that's expected of them. How many of our college faculty really understand what the high school graduation standards are? How do those high school standards connect to or relate to the expectations that we have at the college level? How many high school faculty understand what those college level expectations are and how what they do in their classroom affects what students do or do not know when they walk into that college setting? We need to have continued communication and deeper understanding between K-12 and post-secondary faculty, and Subgroup 5 is focused on this. As a first step towards building those bridges, Subgroup 5 consists not only of post-secondary instructors, but also K-12 instructors. It was also the work of Subgroup 5 to put together the very successful statewide Student Success Summit that was convened in April of 2015. So that's where we are now. These 5 essential components form a framework for the work that's being done right now by the subgroups. But let me try to put this in an even broader picture. A key point is that the summit was fundamentally driven by faculty concerns. This whole Ohio Math Initiative is a grassroots effort. In May of 2013, faculty members from across the state came together to talk about the issues that they're having, possible barriers to student success. We didn't understand how we could affect statewide changes. But now it's a faculty-driven process. Faculty are serving on the steering committee. Faculty lead and comprise the membership of the subgroups that are doing the work of the Ohio Math Initiative. And the Chairs Network is key in the implementation. By having the chairs and leads convene, there's a forum to discuss what's working well, what changes need to take place. There's a mechanism for endorsing the work of the subgroups. And there's a way to focus and steer the work of the subgroups, so we're always heading in the direction of success. There are a few next steps that were identified by the steering committee. So as mentioned previously, the chairs convened on June 2nd of 2014, and they've been meeting regularly and been in communication with each other to talk about implementation of these 5 essential components. And in the summer of 2014, the working groups that we've been talking about were created to do this work. And now we've begun work on the essential components, and we've been sharing what's been happening. And one of the next steps that was identified is to plan a statewide mathematics conference. Subgroup number 5 already ran the Student Success Summit in April of 2015, which brought together folks from the K-12 environment, the post-secondary world, together to talk about national trends in mathematics and changes that need to be seen in order to better align high school and post-secondary mathematics. As we look forward, the subgroups continue their work, and we're continuing to work with Complete College America and the Data Center at Austin, along with our Chairs Network, to make sure that we have data that supports the decisions that are being made, that we're tracking the changes that are being made. And the state of Ohio is being held under some scrutiny by other states who are contemplating similar changes. So there's great interest across the United States in the work that's taking place here in Ohio. If you're looking for some additional resources, take a look at the report, Rethinking Post-Secondary Mathematics, the final report of the Ohio Mathematics Steering Committee. You can also take a look at the Ohio Mathematics Initiative website, and feel free to read minutes from the steering committee or the meeting notes from the Chairs Network. On behalf of the Chairs Network, the Ohio Department of Higher Education, and the Ohio Mathematics Initiative, thank you